Welcome, everybody. It matters now. I'm Ozien. I'm going to be hosting a discussion with Flatzoid, and I'll bring Flatzoid up. Hey, welcome to the channel. Really quick show notes. If you have any questions for Flatzoid or me, I'll star them, tag at Matters Now or tag at Flatzoid or something like that. I'll star the questions and ask them when we have time. If you send a super chat in, of course, super chat will get priority. And today we're going to discuss biblical cosmology. And I hear some feedback now. So,
sorry, yeah. I'm trying to.
All the YouTube.
Yeah. So how's it going?
It's going good, man. So I'm glad you decided to come here. I know we got a lot of a lot of times people have animosity and stuff like that over the topic, and I try to my whole goal is to try to build bridges and try to understand where people are coming from. And I think the only way people are going to change their minds, whether you're right or I'm right, is if we come to the discourse and to have discourse and not necessarily just to win. So
yeah, exactly. If we just have a discussion, then it can be more fruitful. But I mean, I'd still like the debate though sometimes.
Oh, I still want to debate you on biblical cosmology. I want to spend some more time studying it though too. I did that debate with what's his name again? Josh.
What am I hearing in the background?
I still hear you like a feedback. Yeah.
Is it working now?
Hey, Josh Monday. That was. Why can't I remember the names? I'm so horrible with names. Yeah, it sounds like it's working good.
Okay.
Yeah, so I guess I do have some questions though. If you could just give us a general overview, I can share do you subscribe to the ancient Hebrew sort of model of cosmology, or is it specifically just your interpretation of the Bible, or is it what exactly is it, I guess?
Yeah, I'm definitely 100% Hebrew cosmology. So I'm going to take it as how Genesis explains it as an actual event, how God created it in the 6 days kind of thing. And yeah, I don't see a reason why as a Christian I shouldn't do that.
Okay.
Because if you look at Genesis and how it's because obviously there's allegorical things when it comes to the Bible. There's definitely allegorical things going on, but when it comes to actual historical events and cosmology, that wouldn't mean it is allegorical in a sense. That would mean it's actually a historical narrative.
How do you tell the difference? I guess maybe that's a good question. How do you tell the difference between what is allegorical and what is actually historical? Because I know scholars have spent hundreds and hundreds of years trying to differentiate between the two. They've spent a lot of time trying to say what each book, each passage, how it's intended to be interpreted, and not to say that they're correct, just to say I don't think most of them would conclude that the earth is flat, even though the local cosmology the Hebrews believed at the time definitely was a local flat earth. But how do you tell the difference between what is allegorical and what is history and what is science, I guess, or cosmology?
Well, I would say when it comes to things like prophecies, and my kids broke the camera earlier. So
how many kids do you got? You don't have to share, but
I got three.
Three, nice. I have three.
Yeah, my the oldest daughter's turning 9 this year. My son just turned 5, and my youngest daughter is 2. She's turning 3.
9, 5, and 2, 3. My youngest is 2019 this year, 19 in August. My youngest. So all my kids. I have 3 kids too. But besides, I have some step kids, but we've separated, and anyways. But they're all adults now, which is sort of nice.
Okay.
And they want to take care of me. So even though I still have my own place. Okay, well that's so I think we got sidetracked with kids. So how do you tell the difference between what's allegorical? Let's just focus on history. How do you tell the difference between what's allegorical and what's history?
Like I said, if you come to, let's say, how, I'm trying to think of a nice way, prophetic structure. Let's say, for instance, there was a prophecy made. You would know that, like Daniel talking about the wheats and the tares, and there's going to be great. The prophecy itself was allegorical, but the fulfillment was physical. Does that make any sense?
Yeah. So how do you? But I want to see a prophecy itself is historical. You could try to make the claim it was an historical fact that Daniel made a prophecy of the future. But then you have to be able to determine if that prophecy be able to interpret the prophecy to know if the prophecy came to. I don't want to get into the weeds about interpretation of prophecy or not, because this is about biblical cosmology, about the physical reality. Even though cosmology deals with more than just what's physically true, it deals with the whole religious belief structure. And religion, when I say religion, I just mean a system of beliefs that you accept, things that you accept as true, and that's related to your belief in a God that you accept as true. So that's all I mean by religion. So.
Okay. Yeah, because how we can know things were actually happening is we are able to see, how can I put this? Let's, for instance, take Isaiah. Isaiah, when he prophesied that there would come a person and the Messiah will come and obviously give his life for us and die. That happened. Historically, we have documentation that Jesus came. He was born of a virgin. He died. He got crucified. And there's documentation even from his resurrection afterwards, with many scholars, even from today, even atheist scholars and stuff, agree that there is a lot of testimonial based on other people that weren't even Christians at the time, that they did, in fact, see Jesus. I mean, even some people were willing to die horrible deaths for their testimonial that they saw Jesus afterwards.
I think there might be some disagreement on how many accurate testimonials there are of seeing Jesus resurrected, at least from my reading. But I do agree with you that it's pretty much a historical consensus that Jesus was born and died. And most people would say he was crucified. But there is disagreement about resurrection. Now there could be, like, because we do have the stories. I don't want to get into that debate. But we do have testimonials. We have the Bible. So, but I don't know how much external testimonials we have outside of the Bible of people that claim to be that Jesus actually resurrected, or that he was of a virgin birth. Either that's really not. I wouldn't call that a historical fact. Now, because I think it's a supernatural claim. So I would say the life of Jesus was an historical fact. What he did, we don't entirely know, except for what we have in writing, that happened. So in that regard, I say we could have disagreement about that. But I'll just grant you that that's true, that Jesus died, resurrected, and all that stuff, because I'm not as worried about whether Christianity is true or not. I just want to know how you can differentiate between what is allegorical and what is historical. Alt F4.
Yeah.
Somebody in the chat said Alt F4. I guess he want me to close my stream. Go away, Sneed McFeed. So let's go to let's say like the historical facts are true, but there is lots of allegory. Let's take like the Jesus and the mustard seed. Like Muslims will attack Christians all the time to say that the scientific proof. Muslims will attack Christians all the time and say, well, that's a scientific mistake to say that a mustard seed's the smallest seed. And I mean, modernly, no one could disagree with that. And we do have Dr. J. So would you say that was a scientific fact, or was it allegorical about the mustard seed?
Allegorical, obviously, because
Okay.
when you look at it in context, it's made to be the reason behind the story of the mustard seed. So it's not physically telling you, look, it's the smallest seed, you kind of thing. So yeah, it's allegorical because there's a meaning behind it. But hey,
All right.
Joel, good to see you.
Hey, you there?
Hello, hello. I'm here.
Welcome. You on your way home? You're traveling. You're not driving, right?
I just finished a soccer game. I'm sitting at the gas station as I'm eating lunch, and the car is charging, and then I'll drive them back.
Okay. I just want to make sure that you're not in commerce, because if you are, you're going to need a driver's license. I'm just messing with you. The sovereign citizen thing. So, okay, so let's just grant that. So the mustard seed, of course, it has to be allegorical. If God exists and Jesus is personification of God as a man, then it must be the case that he meant it as an allegory, right? So
Yeah. Well, yeah, like I said, all depends on the context of the story, how it's explained to you. So yeah, the mustard seed, I say, is allegorical because of the context of the story behind the mustard seed.
right, like big things come from small things. Basically, is
yeah.
It's a good story. It's a good lesson to learn that you can. I've always told people that, like when I do mentoring and stuff like that, it's like you got to create a plan, and you may have problems as you enact it and stuff, but it's trying to achieve your goals that will lead to the places you need to be. Not necessarily that you'll achieve that specific goal. You might decide that you need to change, right? Because as you go through, sort of like life happens and stuff. But so if the mustard seed could be allegorical, then why couldn't? So can you understand how most Christians would think that even like the 6 days of creation could be allegorical?
Well, what would be the story behind with creation? Let's say in Genesis 1, where God created the first day, evening and morning were the first. Morning and evening were the first day. Okay, because remember, He created light, and the first day was hovering over the waters. What would be the context for that, or would you say it was just a historical narrative pronounced by Moses? Because that's what was said. That's how the first day was. This is what God did on the first day. So it wasn't in context of having a meaning of anything. It was just literally, this is what God did on the first day, and that's why it actually happened.
Yeah, I don't know if you want to respond to that.
Joel. Yeah, is it possible that the meaning of Genesis 1 is to show that God's ultimate power and power over creation, but not necessarily to give the details of how creation was done?
I don't know. I don't know if you would read it into that, because you would agree if you take a historical narrative, it's an historical account. So I wouldn't take historical account as just allegorical or a story, as you would put it, because I think you guys are coming from the worldview that it's heliocentric model. So you already have it. It doesn't fit with the heliocentric belief, so therefore it has to be allegorical. Where I come from. Sorry?
I was just going to say, I think so I've had this debate long before I even had heard a single flat Earth debate. When didn't even know anybody cared about flat Earth, so it didn't really matter to me. Never heard anyone defend the heliocentric model, right? So like it just wasn't even a thing. And so there's different kinds of literature. And so I totally agree with you that a lot of Genesis is probably historical narrative. I would agree with that those stories are of real people and so on, and maybe not all of it, but some of it. But the type of literature of Genesis 1 may not be historical literature. Does that make sense? Even though they're both in the book of Genesis, maybe not all of Genesis is historical literature. In the same way that Daniel, the beginning of the book of Daniel, you might consider historical narrative, like there's a real Daniel that went to Babylon or whatever. But then the last part of Daniel is a lot of prophecy, which we would put that in apocalyptic literature. So I agree with you on the historical narrative, taking it as historical narrative. Sort of, I guess I think the debate resides around, well, is Genesis 1 the historical narrative in the way we would say another part of Genesis is definitely historical narrative. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, I understand what you're saying, but when we take it with Daniel, you can understand the prophecies are allegorical, but the fulfillment of the prophecies are actual. So the fulfillment of the prophecies come to fruition, which makes it historically documented.
That's true.
Yeah,
In the same way, Genesis. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. I'll let you finish.
No, just like saying, just the same way where Moses was interpreting and conveying how God created the earth. It wasn't in an allegorical manner. It was, this is day one, this is what God did, and this is day two, this is what God did, and he did it step by step this way. So there was no language for allegory at all in Genesis 1. It was literally, this is how it was done, and that's how God did it.
So I would say that not exactly the same, because Daniel is apocalyptic literature. It's not all like allegorical literature is the same. So it's apocalyptic literature. So I agree that the way it's usually read apocalyptic literature is whatever it's an allegory to represent a real thing. And a Babylonian epic literature might have its own characteristics, but it's certainly like, I'm not saying it's not representing a real thing. The real thing is God's power, and that God ultimately has power over creation. So there is like a real thing behind the story of Genesis 1. It's just, it's not telling a detailed explanation of it took him he did it in 6 days and, did it in this exact order or whatever.
Well, it does. That's where I disagree with you, though. It is very detailed. It does say, in the beginning was God. I mean, let's take 1 John. In the beginning was God. It was the Word was God, and God was with the Word. I think you're obviously also Trinitarian.
Yes.
Yeah, and is that a specific account for saying, yes, there's the three Godhead there, or is it just allegorical to say, well, it could be three, but it's actually just one God?
But I'm going to agree with you that deciding when things are allegory and when they're not is difficult. And, experts, quote unquote, argue about this all the time and don't agree with each other, and they all think they're right. So, you and I could probably go through lots of things, some of them which a passage neither one of you have ever thought in depth about and not be sure, right? Like, just like, oh gosh, I never really looked at this passage, right? So I can understand why Genesis is a particularly difficult one, of whether it's allegorical or literal. And I would say if we really wanted to get into it, we could read a whole bunch of, and to be honest, Genesis 1 wasn't my expertise, so I haven't read an incredible amount about Genesis 1 and the different arguments for the allegorical method. But it does sound like we at least understand each other. Like, I totally understand reading it as historical literature, right? Like, yeah, I think other parts you would read that way, and I can understand if you read Genesis 1 that way, you would be, read it literally. I'm totally on board with it, but it's just that other people see it as a different type of literature.
Yeah. Because I don't get, though, is this is the standpoint I'm saying. This is because I'm saying because you guys have a worldview of the heliocentric model. You understand. Let's, for instance, day one, there's no sun and moon yet, but yet there's a day and evening. So now you're trying to logically, in your mind, say, okay, we know based on today, we have the sun and it's associated with the day. We have the moon and it's associated with the night. So therefore, obviously, it cannot be physically that way. But how it was written in Genesis 1 was specifically, God said, let there be light. And God saw that it was good, and there was light. Okay, so when he made the light and he said, this is the first day, there was morning and evening. This is the first day. The sun and moon weren't there yet. So this contradicts the heliocentric model. So when you come from a belief that, hang on, I need this to comport with what I believe reality to be, therefore it has to be allegorical. But there's no allegorical language in there. That's what I'm trying to say. So when I come from a basis like, okay, there's no allegorical meaning there, I have to take it as this is the historical narrative, how it happened and how God created the earth. And because it doesn't show it to be based on the heliocentric model, me personally, I'm not saying this is a salvation issue or anything for others. If you believe it's heliocentric or flat earth, that's just secondary. But for me, and my personal opinion is, I'm not going to go and say, based on Genesis 1, it has to be allegorical because I believe it to be a globe. To me, that would be saying God's lying kind of thing. You know what I mean?
Agreed. And I would not say, well, I believe in a globe, therefore Genesis 1 allegorical too. I do not think that is evidence that it's allegorical. So, and I think that most theologians that are studying Genesis 1 don't even realize there's a discussion about the, you know what I'm saying? Like that, this has been a discussion a long time and there's different reasons. So maybe I should have come more prepared, but there's people who have written a lot of stuff about why they think it's an allegorical method. And you know, so carefully to the point of calling it its own type of literature of a Babylonian epic. And maybe I need to read up on that and get more on top of exactly what those arguments are, because they would argue the language being used is a certain type of way of describing things in the same way using apocalyptic language is apocalyptic literature. So is this a different kind of way of describing something?
Yeah. I don't know if you know anything of Michael Hauser.
I don't think so.
Michael Hauser, well, he didn't believe it to be actual flat, but he did teach that the Hebrew cosmology, based on literal interpretation of Genesis 1, showing a flat earth. If you take it from the 6-day creation. So he took it in the literal sense, but although he didn't believe it's flat, you understand? Because I'm sure you also know through the years, this was the argument the atheists were always fighting with the Christian apologists, saying, you see, it's actually a flat earth book. So you guys are just dumb, you know, it makes the Bible false. This was the argument that's been going around for years. But in the meantime, they're not understanding that if you're taking this from a spiritual point of view, it's not a scientific book. Although it does validate some scientific things in scientific genre, it doesn't mean the book is scientific. It's supernatural. Supernatural is over science. So that would be limiting God to science if you say it's a scientific book.
Well, can I ask you this? Could God have created the order in Genesis as he did, but just made everything appear to look like what we see? Or do you think that would mean God was created things to be intentionally deceptive? Or like, that's a loaded question. Let me just ask the question.
I can answer that though, because
yeah,
that would go against God's character though. You are more or less going along the lines of Allah, because he is the greatest of deceivers. So he would intentionally, based on his character, do something like that. But when it comes like to God, we know God is true. He's good. He doesn't lie. He can't lie. So he wouldn't be able to be deceptive to trick us, you could say. I hope that's answering your question.
Yeah. Could it been a problem with translation? Like, because humans, do you agree that humans wrote it, but they were inspired by God? Do you think that God ensured that it was maintained without error?
Look, the Bible doesn't claim to be without error. It doesn't claim to be written by God. It's inspired by God. So obviously, but when it comes to like the Genesis account, we know Moses wrote Genesis and he spoke with God, you know? So he was in front of God when he spoke with God. Do you not think it would be odd that God would say, listen, the teaching you are sending down to the generations is false? If it's based on God's character and it's only truth, he would have told Moses, sorry, this is not actually how it's working. This is how it's supposed to go. And even with Joshua, when he asked God to stop the sun, it's the same story. God didn't stop the earth from moving. He stopped the sun because Joshua asked, please stop the sun so we can finish this battle. And people interpret this the whole time as it only appears for the sun to stop, or it only appears for that. But that would just be you interpreting it in a way to make sense based on your belief system.
Well, that would be based on heliocentrism and Newtonian dynamics, right? Which modern science rejects. So modern science rejects, that the sun could stop in the sky based upon frames of reference. You can consider the Earth to be stationary when you measure the sun. The sun stopped in the sky. So it's not contradictory in that respect under like the modern concept of relative motions.
Well, I can ask you a question though, based on heliocentrism though. If the sun,
I'm not heliocentrist, but go ahead.
No, I'm saying this based on heliocentrism now on the globe. if the sun had to appear to stop, but it was the Earth moving that stopped, what do you think would happen to everything that's in this perfect dance with the universe?
A change in momentum, like
It'd be haywire.
well, yeah, but God could just prevent that,
Yes.
because if he can stop the sun from moving across the sky, he could stop us experiencing the change in momentum too. So there's no like contradiction there that I see, that if you're appealing to a supernatural cause for the apparent stopping of the sun in the sky, then if it was in fact the Earth that had the momentum due to gravity, and he stopped the Earth, but according to the Earth, he stopped the sun. According to the sun, he stopped the Earth, right? If you look at relative frames of reference. So there's no contradiction with modern science with that claim there. I don't see it. Like, you would just say God did a supernatural thing. In either case, God did a supernatural thing, right? Like stop the sun.
Yeah.
Or,
You don't want to limit God to his power. That's obviously not what I'm saying. I'm just saying, if it was based on God, please stop the sun, and God being truthful, he won't be a deceptive. He would just say, okay, no, it's not the sun moving. It would be the Earth. Just like when he was talking to Moses, and he was giving, obviously Moses had to get the creation account from somewhere. So
yeah.
did he make it up, or did God give it to him?
Yeah, I think I asked Rachel's question here too, but I don't think all scholars are agreed on who wrote Genesis, but I think it's a church tradition that Moses.
Some people say
wrote
Genesis 2. Yeah, Genesis 1 is definitely Abraham, but some scholars say Genesis 2 might have a different author. But this is based on they looking at the different times when Adam and Eve were created, based on Genesis 1 and Genesis 2. But there is a logical explanation to how they did this, I would say, because Genesis 2, it was just another time of where the animals were already there. So when they come with, okay, but Genesis 2, the plants, the herbs and stuff came after Adam and Eve. But in Genesis 1, Adam came before. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, the plants came before Adam and Eve. In Genesis 2, the shrubs and stuff came after Adam. But you have to understand, with Genesis 2, it's not contradiction, because God had to wait for someone to till the earth. So there wasn't any shrubs and seeds and things to get tilled. When Adam was there as the subduer of the earth, he was able to farm now and use the shrubs and do the seeds and farming. And that's why it is in a different order, you could say. I don't know if Joel has any information on this, or do you think it's also allegorical for the sun in Joshua? Joshua stopped the sun, or do you think it was physically?
I probably would say that's not allegorical, but on the miracle side, I just sort of be like, hey, God does miracles. I can't explain them, and I don't really care about the details that much. That's often, same with the resurrection. It's like, yeah, however that works, obviously broke a whole bunch of rules. And so I don't feel like I need to explain how it happened. I don't have a lot of personal impetus for that.
Yeah, because I think you'd totally agree with me. Like I said, it's supernatural. God's supernatural, so he's not bound by natural law. So he's obviously able to do things that is above our understanding.
And something, I say a similar thing that you say, but I might mean something different. I'll say that the Bible's not a science book, meaning like what I mean by that is like, science, the Bible didn't give us the cure for cancer, right? The Bible didn't give us lots of scientific stuff, right? And that's okay. I don't care. The Bible wasn't a science book. And so I don't really look to the Bible to be like, was the Bible trying to explain to me the shape of the earth or just any other scientific type thing? I'm like, I just don't think that the Bible cares about this. This is not what it was written for. So I often don't think, well, I need to, fight with scientists because the Bible said this or that. Because I kind of feel like that's not what the Bible was, going for or whatever. So that's kind of how I handle that.
I'm 100% for you on this. That's why I say it's secondary. That's why when you talk about the cosmology, it's not a salvation issue if you believe it's a globe or a flat earth.
What about the age? Somebody asked how old you thought the earth was. Does it matter because there's a new paper by Gupta that came out that appeals to tired light, does away with cold dark matter based on the new James Webb Telescope stuff, and says like the universe is like, it looks like it's 26 billion years old now. So is the do you think like if the universe is 26 years old that would falsify God, or is it okay if people believe
No,
either claim?
no, I don't think it can falsify God, because then that's just putting a limit into God's age or whatever. Remember, when God is in the beginning, there was no time. You could say, just like Jesus said, he was the Alpha and the Omega. He was the beginning and the end. So in the beginning, that's when time started. So God literally came from the beginning. So that's when time started. How do you know that wasn't billions of years or whatever? But when it comes to Genesis in the creation, yes, I believe it's 6 literal days, and I would say it's a young Earth, but I wouldn't say it's exactly 6,000 years. But it does fit to Bible prophecy on 7,000 years and stuff, because a lot of symbolism in the Bible is based on 7. And I do staunchly believe we are in the kind of end times, just as the days of Noah was. We are in that times. I do believe that spiritually.
What about this 40 days after the eclipse? There's a lot of people.
No, look, I don't know what's wrong with people where they're making this doomsday thing, saying it's going to be a rapture now or this and that. If you read your Bible, God's very specific. You will not know the time, the day, or the hour. You will come as a thief in the night. Not even the angels know.
I know.
So if someone's making a prediction on them, then you might have to think back and think, hang on, I'm going to trust God. I know I'm right with God. It can happen now while we're talking here. Who knows?
Well, they'll point to passages that say stuff about watchmen, but they're specifically referencing actual watchmen up on walls. Like they're not reading them in context. They're taking bits and say, well, the people that are watching and are woke, that's only for people that aren't watching. It's like, really?
Yeah, I don't agree with that. Yeah.
I do have a super chat. I do want to get to it really quick. I have 2 super chats really before we move on. But Brenda, she says evolution is one of the most verified theories in history of science. Why do you reject that? And can a Christian accept evolution? Okay.
Yes,
why do you reject it?
A Christian can accept evolution, but it doesn't make it real. It doesn't make it true. Let's take, for instance, Mike Jones. IP, we were talking about him last night.
Yeah.
He's a Christian and he believes in evolution. But to me, that doesn't make sense, because evolution relies on death, and God didn't create death. That came from the fall of man. So if you are saying, okay, evolution was there, and Adam and Eve were the first actual humans in God's image based on covenant, that means there were people before them, but they died. So therefore, it goes against what God's word was about him always being good, because of sin comes death. And that doesn't make sense to me. That would be the hindering block for me when you say, okay, can a Christian believe in evolution? Yeah, they're all right. But according to me, that would be saying God isn't all good then.
Do you see a problem with, like, in the United States, there's a lot of people that are becoming atheists. I think we have a huge movement towards atheism, but we also have a large fundamentalist population in the United States who believe the Bible's literally, even if they don't necessarily agree that it's flat, but they believe like in the 6,000 year creation, deny evolution, and all that stuff. And then these children, I think I may have wanted to ask you this before. Their children go off to college or whatever, and they have a crisis of faith. They become atheist or agnostic, if you want to be more technical about it. But modernly, everybody calls themselves atheists, which is fine. So do you see that as a problem when you hold to this rigid fundamentalist 6,000 year view and evolutionary view that your children may go to school and have a crisis of faith and turn away from God entirely because they learn science?
All I do is I feel sorry for you guys. I do pray for you guys, because I know what's going on. That's what I said. It's like in the days of Noah again, just like the Bible said would happen in the end days. You guys there's going to be a great falling away. Even for even the most elect are going to be duped into believing God's not existing, and they'll leave the faith. This is just part of the times. So it's not something that we don't know is going to happen. It's just part of the times.
But
But yeah,
don't
you
you?
can just pray for that.
But don't you think like you'd have less people having crisis of faith if you didn't teach fundamental Christianity? If you that less people would fall away from God if you didn't if you just allowed it to be allegory, that the only thing that matters was questions of salvation, accepting Jesus as your Lord and Savior, and the
Not
rest of
really.
it's not as important.
I don't think so. I think it's got the both pros and cons kind of thing. There's a lot of Christians that hold to it because of them taking it literally, and there's a lot of Christians that don't take it because they find it allegorical. You understand? So it depends on the person and their upbringing, I guess, and what they believe.
Yeah.
But I don't think it can go either way.
I don't know. I think the families that don't hold to as rigid of a concept have less problems with their children turning away from the faith. And when they do turn away from their faith, they lose the community they had going up. You see like all this, it seems like teen angst from 20-year-olds on Twitter or whatever, because they're pissed off that they were, that as far as they were concerned, they were taught lies their entire life about from their church and from stuff like that. But I don't know if you want to jump in, Dr. J. I've been talking a lot. Oh, you need to go?
Yeah, I got to get going here. It's super great talking to you guys. Good talking to you, Flat. So sorry I had to go. This is more along the line of what I actually know about. A lot of times we're actually arguing about the details of Flat Earth, and I don't know and I don't care. So this is actually something that's a little bit more my thing, and I'm sorry I couldn't join longer. But it was really fun to talk to you. I really enjoyed it. It's always great talking to you, Ozien.
Thanks, Joel. You rock, man.
All right.
Love to actually talk to him again.
Yeah, sounds good. See you guys.
Yeah, I love having. Yeah, I love having people like him on, and Isa who comes on, and we have Hussein that comes on. He's a so we have a couple Muslim regulars that come on, and a couple Christian regulars that come on, and it's wonderful to have them on. That people can see that we can have these discussions without like calling each other names and stuff like that. And I think like people want to make this into the science discussion, but let me. Taking back Eden, I think, has another question. The fifth commandment, herbs the healing of the nation, $2.
It's just got to do with the fifth commandment, obviously.
Isn't that honor thy father and
mother? I think it's more just of a statement.
Is what?
I think it's more just a statement.
Oh, they're saying if you honor your father and mother, that it will help cure the nation.
Land which the Lord thy God giveth. So yeah, it's got to do that God gave the land. So the herbs are probably the promise of that. But yeah.
All right. Sure. Thank you, Taking Back Eden, for the $2 Canadian. And then he also, I always say she because Eden sounds like a female name, but it's not he, it's not she, it's he, it's John. Psychopaths in U.S. prison, majority except Globe. Majority are not psychopaths in prison. I don't know if majority accept a Globe or not. Majority of like people in prison are Christians, but you'll be surprised. Muslim.
But you'll be surprised how many people in prisons find faith.
Yeah, a lot of them find faith in prison, but it doesn't matter if they believe in the Globe or not, and most of them are not psychopaths. Psychopathic.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
A lot of people, there's even people that's not supposed to be there, so it happens.
As an Aztec, I don't know what this is about. As an Aztec pagan, I'm in a unique position. Thank you so much, Platonic Cuddler, for the $2. Curious, you can tag me or whatever if you're actually live in Mexico or something, because we had a discussion about the Aztec cosmology a couple weeks ago. Is pretty interesting. They're all pretty similar, except that when it comes to the God beliefs, because I think I mentioned that before, cosmology deals with more than just the physical nature of reality. It deals with the whole picture, like what's true, I guess you could say. Like that's what they meant it in the past. So let's go into that.
Okay, but when it comes to religions, though, obviously I don't really view Christianity as a religion, although it's classified as religion because it's more of a way of life. But yeah, quote unquote. But that's
the
that's
definition of the word.
Yeah,
people
the
take it
definition
as,
still makes it a religion. But I'm
Yeah,
just saying it's classified as a religion, but I wouldn't say it is a religion.
the belief in and worship of a superhuman power, powers, especially a god or gods. So you would just say I would just say for the believer, they're saying it's the true religion. The rest are false religions. Is the way I would frame it.
Yeah,
Instead
obviously.
of denying English, like, but a lot of people want to deny English. Like a lot of people, I have no beliefs. Was that do you believe that's true? And like,
No.
You accept that it's true that you have no beliefs? No, you don't. Then what are you saying?
But I mean, when it comes to, let's say, for instance, Christianity, is there any other quote unquote religion that God is the one that comes and takes place of sin for you?
Is there another religion?
Or is it, let's put it this way, maybe I should reword it. Every religion except Christianity would be you have to do works to get to heaven or to get accepted or maybe get accepted or whatever. Christianity is the only one where God does something for you, which really puts it out apart from any other religion you can find.
I'm not sure, like Hinduism, like some types of Hinduism believe in the concept of reincarnation, but they would say it's about works to like evolve into the next being, but you don't die. Like you don't ever die.
You just get reincarnated as you get karma
or worse. Yeah.
But you see what I'm saying? But when in Christianity, you don't have works to get accepted by God. He came for you. He did something to us. Where on every other religion is, what are you doing to get to God? You know what I mean? So you have works to get to God.
Well, Muslims say you're supposed to do charity and stuff like that, and I don't know if that's necessarily a bad thing.
But Muslims also believe you might not get. They hope they get accepted into heaven.
Well, that's Judaism was originally, right? Not every. It's complicated when you study the history of the roots of Christianity, whether they actually believed you went to heaven or not, or whether you went to hell or not, because there's contradictory claims. If you like,
look, Christianity is still built off of the roots of Judaism.
Yeah,
even Islam, it built off of Christianity and Islam to be able to get to its roots. But the problem with Islam is they had a total misunderstanding of the Jewish faith and the Christianic faith, and that's why it has that offshoot of really weird things.
Yeah, but it says, what does it also say? Faith without works is dead, or something too.
Yeah.
So it's not saying that salvation is dependent upon works, but it does say that through faith you should present yourself as if you're Christ-like in some way, right? I'm not saying
you must strive to be like Christ. You must strive to be like Christ, obviously.
Yeah.
That's how
which should include charity. Right. So
it doesn't necessarily say charity and stuff, but let's put it this way. If you see someone sitting and they're dying of hunger, what would be the right thing to do? Give them food, just to help them out, or give them opportunity to have a job and whatever, or just let them die. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, especially like schizophrenic people you see, because people want to avoid them. But man, those are the people I almost have the most sympathy for, because they're stuck in their own head. It's like the world is like what my brother suffered from schizophrenia, or he still does. He's still alive. Fortunately, he's on the street. But he literally sees demons like attacking him, and he pulls out his invisible knife to fight off the demons.
Yeah, it gets bad sometimes, but I mean, I've seen some weird shit in my life before, so I can't say anything. I've seen, so I'm not going to say he's not seeing a demon there. I mean, I've heard of people that's gone for deliverance from schizophrenia and they've never seen a demon after that again. You understand? Obviously, it doesn't work with everyone, because I do believe there is a psychological thing to it, but there is also sometimes spiritual things to it. So you can get delivered for it sometimes, not all the time.
Well, the Catholic Church has a position on that too. They've had it for a long time, that you're supposed to get, and Muslims do the same thing. They say we will assume it's it's physical unless we have evidence of that it's
Yeah.
jinn or whatever it is for them.
Yeah, but they believe in 7 heavens or something.
Yeah, like the Aztecs believe in. Well, do you believe in the 3 heaven
Yeah,
thing
it's a
like
3
Josh
heavens like the
Monday?
Bible teaches. Yeah. Yeah, but the like the Muslims, they believe it's like 7 flat pancakes on top of each other or something.
Doesn't the
Where, like,
book of Enoch, like if it's true, not saying book of Enoch is true, doesn't it describe more than 3 heavens, I thought?
I don't actually know that part. But yeah, the Enoch it's still part of the Ethiopian Bible though.
Yeah.
But it wasn't accepted into the canon of the actual Bible literature of today.
Yeah, 10 heavens. 10.
10 heavens, yeah.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of Enoch goes into greater detail, obviously, and there's a lot of debate on Enoch if it was a later made author, or if it was actually Enoch itself, kind of thing. Because you can accept it or you can't. But I do accept some of the things said in Enoch. But there's some things that are things that I don't know if I can just take it. Just like Brenda says, Enoch is a fraud. This is what I asked Brenda. Prove it.
Yeah, I know. I don't know what the scholars say. Dates ranging from 1st century BCE to 10th century CE. So they're not sure. It doesn't look like they agree when it was written.
I saw a thing the other day where they found a manuscript or something for Enoch was like 5,000 years old. I'm not sure.
Of Enoch?
Yeah.
That would be interesting because I'm seeing. I don't know if we have any paper manuscripts that are 5,000.
Archaeologists, 5,000-year-old book discovered underground Egypt.
But was it Enoch?
Horrifying message, captivating Egyptian landscape. I'm just trying to see. Yeah, the old book of Enoch.
Oh, word.
Here's the link. I'll send it to you.
Cool.
It's actually quite interesting. Private chat. There we go. And I can somewhat stick it in YouTube for the other people as well if they want to.
Yeah, you might not be able to. I had issues, so I turned off. But I can.
No, I have the same issues. That's what only my mods can. You get some sick people.
I had the Ubercast. I think I've talked to him before in Discord or something. He wanted to come on. He said, "Did you know him or?"
Ubercast. It's Travis. He's the Ether Band guy.
Oh,
you know that. I don't know if you know him. He usually
talks
about the Ether Band.
He usually talks about what?
The Ether Band, like the Horizon and showing the Mirage Ether Band. That's the guy that usually.
Okay. Yeah. That's probably where I know him from then. Well, don't insult him if he's going to come on stage, guys. Biggest. You should respect the guests for coming on stage and explaining their worldview. If you want to
know, Travis does, and just to let the guys know, Travis doesn't agree with me that the Bible teaches a flat Earth. So he's actually with you guys on this.
Yeah. Is he Christian?
I don't actually know, but he did study Christianity for long. He says theology.
Okay. All right, so I do have a couple questions, and I don't think we ever really go into this well enough. Let me ask Brenda. I got tagged with a couple questions though. Brenda asked, "I'm not going to say zombies. I did say zombies. Do you believe the dead got up and walked around when Jesus was resurrected, like the biblical story says? I guess.
Yeah, why not? A lot of people believe sometimes it was just spiritually. Spiritual dead got up. It wasn't physical dead. So that's how you have to take it into context as well, how it's written in Hebrew, obviously, and Greek, whatever it's translated from. You have to look at the strong concordance and look at the etymology of the words. But yeah, I believe that it could have been physical bodies that lifted up, because why not? There's so much stuff that's happened in the Bible that we don't understand today. But what happened to them afterwards would be the question.
I usually go to a couple sources depending on, like, if I want to know what Catholics believe, I go to Catholic.org, I think it is. If I want to know what traditional Christian views on certain passages stuff, I go to where I don't try to interpret it myself because I don't have the context like necessary to interpret it. I see atheists do that all the time. They'll pick one passage and interpret it alone, and to me, this seems like a straw man a little bit. Like if you're going to attack somebody's worldview, you need to actually understand what the worldview is first.
Yeah.
Oh, we have.
But
Issa
that's why
too.
we're having this conversation, so you more or less know how's it going on. Hey, Issa, good to see you, man.
I'm good. How are you? Good to see you too.
In itself, one of the debaters I like on modern day.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that.
He needs to be on more often, I think. And
Yeah.
I think his conversation with David Wood was very good too. And I asked. I think during DebateCon 4, I went up and asked every debate. I asked questions. One of the first people, but and I asked both of them what happens to me when I die. So that's a good question. Let me ask you, Flatzoid. I'm this stupid guy that's been an atheist his entire life that rejects God and says Romans 1:17-20 just proves to me God doesn't exist. If it's true, if some interpretations of it are true, not everybody agrees with that interpretation, of course. So what happens to me when I die?
Well, based on Christian theology, the only way to heaven is not to reject God, to accept Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior, that he died for you and rose again on the third day. So understanding that if you rejected God, because he loves you so much, he will not keep you in his presence for eternity because you're choosing to be separated from him. So obviously you will unfortunately be heading to the same place as Satan and the demons.
Yeah. And really quick, that David Woods. Yeah, David Woods has a storied past with his father. His father survived, and he found God while he was in prison. And he goes out and does debates, and he's changed his life. He's got married. So he had I'm not going to say it's necessarily God that did it because I'm the dirty atheist. But anyways, but just the fact he found like a purpose in life and stuff like that, whether it was God or not. And I'm all for redemption arcs, dude. I forgive people like if they make mistakes, and the people I believe that we need to rehabilitate people, not punish them. So I don't think there's any reason that people should continue to punish David Wood. And you see Muslims do it all the time and stuff. And I think he's
well, it's part of the territory. It's part of the territory, to be honest, there.
Yeah, not all Muslims. Some okay.
Yeah, no, it's not everywhere.
Well, it's really interesting. My field is social work and chaplaincy, so like that, in healing, to be the best healer, you have like in pastoral images, we have this image called the wounded healer, where you have someone who's been through pain and has been through difficulty, and that inspires their kind of ability to help support others. So I think it's really interesting that they try to do this thing where they're like, well, you're condemned because you did this thing and your life is ruined, instead of trying to see, that people have a chance of being the best person. And he struggled through a lot. Dr. Wood had a very difficult past, poverty. That's one of the things people don't talk about. People have a lack of resources, and that causes situations where people go down certain paths. So in my kind of work within social work, we are fostering spaces where people are we seek for equity to make sure people have the resources that are needed that can kind of help people get out of very difficult spaces and get medication and get the kinds of things that they need to succeed.
Yeah, I think everybody needs a chance. Like some people are sick and we need to keep them locked up to protect them, society from them. But David Wood's not one of those.
Made up their mind. There's those that made up their mind. They will always continue to do what they do.
Yeah, I think some people have mental illnesses. Like, I always bring up Ted Bundy. He found God though. Mm-hmm. So let's go into biblical cosmology. Or Earth. Okay, so because I'm sorry, like I hear like explanations. I don't want to get an argument with container. We'll just pretend there's a container that exists. And I don't think a container proves a flat Earth either. I think you could have a globe that's contained, or I could reify the concept of the Van Allen belts and the heliosphere that protects the solar system as the 3 levels of heaven, right? So I got 3. I got the one that's the sky, I got the one that's the solar system. I got the one that's the galaxy and the universe. But
Yeah.
but
Yeah, obviously we're not debating science or
No.
gas behavior stuff now. We're just chatting about different cosmological views, obviously, on Bible.
But do you have like a mathematical explanation for like gravity within your view? Because I hear buoyancy and stuff like that, but I don't see like it kind of just be God did it, like he just
God did it.
creates gravity. That's then just it's a force that exists that God created.
As you know, flat Earth doesn't have gravity though, so we don't need to worry what gravity is or anything on a flat Earth. It's simply based on my belief on this. It's relative density disequilibrium. So it's the object not being able to be supported by the medium around it. So it has to displace it, and obviously it seeks equilibrium, so it will go to the place of rest, static rest.
Yeah. I guess I struggle with that concept. It's like I always want to see the math, like, or the description
it's based on Archimedes' principle, actually. That's all it's based on.
Is it?
Yeah. And this is based on Archimedes' principle before G was put into it. Because Archimedes' principle was 1,900 years before Newton even postulated gravity.
Oh, so. I'll look it up then. So that's cool to know. Okay.
But can I ask Isa a question though? Yeah. Isa, because I know you're Muslim, correct?
Yep, that's a part of my my situation. Yes.
So you're sitting in the same boat as me that the scriptures teach a flat Earth, correct? Do you believe it, or?
I think that it can be interpreted that way. The text, if literally taken, could be interpreted that way. But my interpretation, I see scripture as being spiritual. I don't really read them literally speaking. So I totally am fine with the Tanakh and the Gospels. I don't have a problem with these texts, as some people may, but I read them as spiritual texts. Okay. So if you read it as a literal text, I think it can be read that way.
Okay. Well, that's cool. I just wanted to know your view on that, because I know you don't really debate, because when you do debate, you debate like with David and AP and them on just Islam. You don't debate on like really the shape. You know what I mean? So I was just curious on what you thought of that.
And I think if that helps, if that's the thing that supports people, I'm not going to fight people about that. I think, you know, if people read it that way, that they read it that way.
I think it's like, I don't think it's charitable to try to force people to interpret like their worldview the same as somebody else either. Like,
I agree.
Like, it's like the only way you're going to convince like a Muslim the earth is flat is to ask them what they believe is true. And try to say, well, how do you interpret this? How do you interpret this? How do you interpret this?
Yeah.
And same thing with like if I was ever trying to convince I don't know how you can convince these ether cosmologists, because they're way out there. But like I think they claim, some of them claim they're Christian, like, because like I heard him say like God snapped his finger and started the ether spinning. Where's that in the Bible?
It's not there.
Like
that's for sure.
What?
Yeah, that's some new age stuff. That's all I can say.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. It's still a cosmology that they accept. I just think it's like, I don't see where it's grounded in. Like yours is just sort of, to me, it's grounded in sort of like this supernatural paradigm where God exists. And I'm not using supernatural as an insult either, just the whole God. But
yeah. No, I understand. We're just having I actually enjoy this discussion a lot. It's nice to discuss something without really debating, because usually when we discuss a subject, it's I'm right, you're wrong. You know, this is that because of that. Yeah. Sometimes it's nice just to have a normal discussion.
Yeah, and 1v1 debates are better too, as long as both people are willing to learn and learn what the other person believes and try to understand it and try to address what they're saying. But you get some people like Caleb. God. Yeah, like I had a specific plan for Caleb, how I was going to approach him, because I knew exactly how he debated, and people were like, man, you were like mean. Like, No, I just knew how to debate Caleb's. Like, I wasn't
Yeah,
going to let
yeah.
him walk all over me. So
Yeah, but sometimes you have to be a certain way with a person. Like that's how when you saw our debate at FTFE that last time, Fight the Flat Earth,
yeah,
I was doing my character was doing the same as him because I know how he is, sort of to combat his behavior towards me. So if I'm just going to be all nice and meek and stuff, then he's going to walk all over me. I'm not going to get anything done. So I had
yeah.
to do the same as him. It's unfortunate how it has to be.
I
But
think
then you can have nice conversations with someone where we can have a debate, and it's just fine. You don't have to overtalk each other, nothing.
Craig's changed, is doing better. He's kind of older. I think his debate style's improved quite a bit, at least the last several baits of his I've seen. So maybe give him another chance. That's what I say. Maybe you might be feeding off each other based on past experience.
Look, one thing I do feel sorry for him, though, and he knows this, is because he's going through a tough time emotionally now because he's getting himself geared for his amputation. So that could also cause a big mental stress on him. So
yeah. He's
that's
gonna
something people do over
what amputation?
for his. I think it's his left leg or his right leg, his knee.
Oh,
That's why he's got into shape so much now, is because he needs to physically be ready for it, and he needs to mentally get himself right for the amputation as well.
Oh wow!
So
I didn't know that. That's horrible.
So that's one thing I think we'll look from him.
Yeah, I don't understand like live music. Like, why do you think I'm intentionally deceiving, lying? Because Witsit told you I was? Like, is that why live music? Like, I'm not intentionally deceiving people. I believe I say what I believe is true. So, anyways, just because somebody tells you I am doesn't mean I actually am. So I don't think MC Tune is either, even though I don't like how people pick on people how they pronounce words, because I suck at pronouncing words. Like, and flat earthers will pick on me the way I look, my twitch, my pronunciation, call me intentional deceiver, liar. I'm like, whatever. Like, I'm evil.
Even like me, I think in Afrikaans, so I'm translating to English while I'm talking. And sometimes like I have to read a word 3 or 4 times until I find, oh, that's the word I'm reading.
Yeah.
For pronunciation issues.
Yeah. It's based on what you've heard about me that I intentionally deceive people. Okay, whatever, dude. That's a shame. Like, I don't know why I would ever have a conversation with somebody who thinks I'm intentionally deceiving them. Like, right? Like, I don't think anybody here is intentionally deceiving anybody. They could be wrong, but it doesn't mean they're doing it on purpose.
Well, let's look at the discussion we're having now. I don't see anything deceptive in the discussion we're having now. We're just being open and honest about our beliefs and what we are talking about. So I don't see anything deceptive here. I think when it comes to debates, a lot of the times people tend to have deceptions, maybe to try and win their cause or their argument. But when it comes to discussions like this, I don't think there's deception, because you're just having a discussion. It's not like you're trying to win any argument or anything.
Yeah. I try not to even do that during debates, but I make mistakes too, but it's not intentional. Like, I might misunderstand what somebody's asking me, like, or they'll ask like a 3-minute question. It's like, dude, like, can you just ask the question? What? I can't address everything you're saying. Like, can we just have a pithy conversation back and forth? But so you believe in 6-day creation then, and
yeah.
Do you so like my understanding of ancient cosmologies is they believe the earth was local. Like, their concept of world was the local world, like what was around them. Like, can you understand like where people are coming from when they say that about the Bible?
Obviously, because a lot of they were very limited to how far they could travel. But when it comes to Hebrew cosmology, it's also very based on the fact that they have 4 corners from the ends of the earth. So they understood it was beyond. It wasn't just local. It was as far as you could go. That's why they have the boundaries. And that's why the Hebrew cosmology has it in a sort of disc shape till the firmament, the dome, as its boundary. So, but yeah, when it comes to some civilizations, they did actually just believe local because that's all they knew. They didn't know anything beyond.
Well, a lot of them believed there were 4 like pillars or foundations that held up the earth, because it's sort of the way I've heard it described. And I mean, across the world, India to North America, where we have records of stuff, they sort of had these concepts where there are 4 foundations, and the concept was sort of like a house, right? You go out to the water, you go to a lake, and you pick up a clod of dirt and you throw it into the water, and it sinks to the bottom. So, but they're on land that's not sinking to the bottom. So how's that happen? So they think, well, we must be up on a foundation like a home is, to prevent us from being flooded by the water. But sometimes we do flood, like like these concepts of floods from underground, from the skies, from the seas are happen all across the world. Like they have these concepts.
Yeah, well,
So,
if you look like, but I mean, that's what I believe, like with Hebrew cosmology, it's based almost like on buoyancy, you could say, where the Earth and the surrounding system is neutral. So it's sitting there still. That's why it's got the pillars to keep it in, because that's why the firmament was placed there, to separate the waters from above from below. So if you think about it, you can think of it almost like a bubble sitting inside the waters. That's neutrally buoyant. That's the most simplest word I can say.
Yeah, I'm trying to imagine that. But and with the pillars, some of the concepts were like they were on a boat, like, or like Indians, like people always, the straw man, like of the earth on the top of elephants on the top of a turtle.
Oh yeah, like a turtle. Yeah.
It's a real cosmology. So some people, one of the cosmologies was it's like turtles all the way down. Like people say that was an ancient cosmological belief in like Indian either areas. And another one was like there was a snake, like a giant serpent that the turtle was on the back of the snake. The snake was like a circle that everything was enclosed in. The heavens were above, or Brahma, or whatever it was.
Like the Egyptians, they believed I don't know what the woman goddess was. What was arched over as the firmament to hold the stars in. Yeah, they physically believe that.
Yeah, and then like even like I thought the Bible described, now it was based on a book I read, that they thought, the ancient Hebrews thought everything within like the first firmament was that flew in the skies were heavenly bodies, including like birds and stuff like that.
Look, that's when it comes to translation as well. Obviously, you get the expanse, you get heavens, and you get the vault. When you come with rakia, it's firm, it's hard. That would be the firmament. Now, you have translations that have heavens. But remember, there's more than one heavens. That's how we said there's 3 heavens. So the sky, the expanse, that's a heaven. Okay, that's where the birds are, the clouds, and all that. Then you got the other heaven where the firmament is, and then the heaven where God is sitting on his throne. That's why I said there's 3 heavens.
Okay.
The Egyptian goddess, I think, is Nut. Is that right?
Nut. I think it's Nut, yeah.
Yeah.
Live music's all mad at me in the live. It's so funny. Live music, I don't believe that your comment is out of the blue, because these people are making this argument that I'm an intentional deceiver ever since I debated Witsit, where Witsit made that argument during the debate. So whatever.
I'll be back 10 seconds. I'm going to blow my nose quickly.
All right.
How you doing?
I'm good, man. This is a good conversation. I know people want to come on. I don't really want to make it a debate though, Brenda, but if you want to come on to have a chat, I'll talk to Flatzoid. And eventually we'll have a debate coming up on biblical cosmology.
Conversation. I think it's a really good thing too. It's just, you don't have to fight about it. People have different worldviews, and you can respect a different people's worldviews without, slamming them. And I think that's doable.
Yeah. So like birds and stuff, anything that flies in the sky, do you think that like they're heavenly bodies, or is it just like planets?
I wouldn't say they're heavenly bodies. I'd just say they float in, they fly in the expanse, the heavens, as they put it, with the clouds and all that. Because God did make the birds too soar in the heavens and made the fish in the sea.
Okay. So it does say soar through the heavens. Okay.
Yeah. But when you get, that's why we say we have three different heavens. When it comes to the luminaries, like the sun, moon, and stars and things, that's in the firmament. So that would be like if you take, for instance, a bowl and you turn it upside down and you got the things, that's how you can picture it. So it's there in the firmament, and where you have the heavens underneath would just be sky.
All right. What about people that see like the sun's in the clouds? Like they'll show pictures of the sun in the clouds.
Well, we've seen videos and stuff where it shows in the clouds. So it's shown where it's even below, and then the horizon's even higher. That's why I am definitely on a thing where I don't know what the sun is. Obviously, just a light, as the Bible says.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't say it's a physical entity there. It's just there as a light, because it is there for times and seasons. That's what the Bible says it's there for. I don't believe day comes from the sun. I just believe it follows the day, because like I said before, what's Joe left? Genesis 1, and the fourth day God created the sun and the moon.
What about
the night?
What about the heat and energy, like for life? Like, do you think we need the sun for life?
Yeah, we need photosynthesis. We need the sun for the life, obviously. When it comes to, that's why I said the light was there for the day, and that's why I said it's literal days, because when God created plants and everything, he made the sun the next day. He needed the sun there so it could give the plants energy to be able to live.
Yeah, well, they knew at the time.
Yeah. Now imagine it was billions or millions of years, no sun before you're going to have photosynthesis. Nothing's going to happen. You know what I mean? So that's why I do believe that's one of the validations to say it is literal days.
Well, I would say it's like the order is not important either, but I understand where you're coming from when you say the order is important of creation. So I would say that the order is not important, that we could believe in modern cosmology and just say it's allegory, and it just saying God created everything that exists is what it means to me. If I was a Christian, it would mean that God created by his word, created everything that existed. Now I always have questions like, what's word? Is that like are we like, what are we made out of? Like, what's the substance of us? I don't think there's an answer for that theologically, but
if we look at how God created Adam, he created him of the dust and he breathed light into him.
Yeah.
So we are in essence made of God's creation and God's essence, because he breathed life into it.
So you think like all of creation is God's essence, like when he, like by his word? Okay.
Part of it, yeah, definitely.
Do you think we're separate from God, or we're part of God, or is it?
I think when we had that fall of sin, that separated us from God. That's why we had needed Jesus to come and to give us that bridge to be able to be back with God. So that's why Jesus came and died for our sins, so that we're able to bridge that gap. So we're able to close that separation. Obviously, we have, like we said earlier, it's given us free will. God is a God of love, so he's not going to force us into submission. He's not going to force us to want to, spend eternity with God. That's why he gives you a choice. At the end of the day, it's your own choice.
Yeah, I understand the theology, but I always want to know, like, so if God, like, if we are created through God's word, or like the earth itself, like the planet itself, the firmament itself, are we made from the essence of God, the word of God? Are we part of God, separate from God? Not just our souls, our humans itself, but the whole planet.
Well, I think
the planet first.
I think we're all part of it. If we can even take this into like the first law of thermodynamics kind of thing, nothing creates itself. And because God is supernatural, he in itself is the beginning. Okay, so by essence, everything that comes off is transferred and transformed into matter. So we, by essence, by default, is part of God's essence.
Okay. Some people would consider that heretical, but I just curious. But your view actually is less contradictory, because otherwise it's like God made us out of nothing. Like, it's like, doesn't make any sense to me. It would make more sense
that
that God created us from his essence.
Yeah, because that's what I say. We nature bound. God's not nature bound. He's supernatural. So we have to abide by natural law. And therefore, okay, God had to create us with the essence that he already had.
Yeah, if Max, if you're there, if you want to take care of that, just, I don't think you need to warn them anymore. That's too many times. Like, if people want to participate in our live chats, you need to respect the people in the live chat. No attacking each other. Anyways, even if you disagree with them, you can just discuss the topic. And the topic is biblical cosmology, not somebody's identity. Stop attacking identity. You attacked my identity, now you're attacking Brenda's identity. Like, I don't think you need to be part of our live chat, but you're welcome to watch the streams anytime you want to. But
sure.
Sorry about that. Like, I can't. It's not that it's a safe place.
It's understandable. It's
yeah.
understandable.
Yeah. And we have Blessed Be He that's here all the time. She's here. Yeah. Anyways, where's this at? There. All right. There we go. No one said that, platonic cuddler. So anyways, you can disagree with people's identity. You just can't attack them in the live chat. It violates YouTube's terms of service. You can't do that. Just talk to people like they're there to engage in the content. Here's Brenda asked. This is a good question. Do you believe that God is inside or outside of space-time?
I think Brenda knows that space and time are just man-made concepts. So, as I said also before, God in itself is time. So God came in the beginning. In the beginning, there was nothing before the beginning, which God was. So God in its essence in itself was the beginning. And that's where time, quote unquote, started. And that's why I think also when you get to heaven, it's a different type of time. It's not time as we see it here. That's why it has eternity, because we are based on entropy. We are based on a sinful nature, which everything leads to death. So obviously,
maybe I can reframe it. Let me reframe it to like try to steel man your worldview and ask the question: do you think God's nature is of change, or like the concept of time of changing with time, or God is outside of that change?
Outside is definitely, because remember, God can't change. Okay. The Bible specifically says God's words remain the same today, tomorrow. So he can't change.
And so most Christian theologians would say that God is outside of time, because time implies the philosophical concept of time is change. So is God inside of physical reality or outside? Do you believe that the essence God created is material?
Let's put it this way. God he has to have a natural side to him, because obviously he had to have Jesus come as a human. He incarnated Jesus come as a human. So he had to have a natural side of him. He is three persons. To be a person, you have to have natural tendencies. So you have to be natural. But he is spiritual. So he's first spiritual with natural beings, especially because God said he created us in their image. So because we create in God's image, that means it's something natural. There's matter, obviously.
Okay. Yeah, I wouldn't take that literally myself. I would take it more like when we're creating God's image, it's more the idea that we have souls. And that's been the traditional view, I think, within Christian theology for a long time now.
That's what I say. We're based on the persons. how can I put this? The essence of the person. So you're based on the help, let's say the Holy Spirit. You're based on Jesus as the Son. You're based on God as the Father. You're based on the essence of them, their godlyhood, you
Sure.
can say.
So then why couldn't the essence of Jesus just take on skins, take on a human form through birth, but he's not physical when he goes back to heaven? Why would he
Because that's a
necessarily
spiritual
be
realm.
physical?
Yeah, that'll be a spiritual realm. Because remember, we on earth now are in a natural realm. That's why God had to physically come down as human to come as in the natural realm to be one of us naturally and show it could be overcome naturally. That's why he had to die as sinless man.
So yeah, so he came down, took natural form, but I don't think that means to me that God is natural. It would just be God took on a natural form through Jesus, but Jesus is only within a natural form when he comes to earth, which he's supposed to do again, right? Do you believe? Okay.
Yeah, that's why when they say Jesus is only begotten Son. So he was born into human form to show. I mean, he had to. That's what they say. When you understand, we're all born into sin. Okay, so we're born as physical matter, as a human into sin. God had to come and do the same to be born into the sin, but not sin. So he would be pure blemish, because it had to do with his sacrifice. Remember when Judaism, it's also got to do with this whole talk with the red heifer that they are going to sacrifice. It's the same symbology. You know what I mean?
Right.
So he had to be without blemish. He had to come and he had to die for everything without being guilty. So he closed that spiritual gap between us and God.
Yeah, I understand. That's where the theology is coming from. But I the part I had struggled with is like seeing that part of God is natural. Is like I would just say it was like God took a natural form to come to earth, but God itself is not natural, is unchanging, outside of physical reality. He's able to somehow interact with physical reality, but that mechanism is unknowable, or is unknown. I don't think we can know how God would interact with physical reality because it's supernatural. So it's not subject to empiricism. We would just have to, you know what I'm saying, in that regard. But all right. It's not parroting, whatever. I should not read the live chat, but I don't have anybody else on the stage. I'm not spinning. I'm just trying to. So a lot of times, I'm going to address this at Alpha 3000. I pride myself in trying to be able to interpret people's views and try to express them to other people in a way that hopefully they can understand it. Like when somebody says, learn to transmute his light on life within you. He showed you the way. I think they're trying to say, learn to express God's nature to the external world. Is that what she's
That's
saying?
what he's trying to say, yeah. Blessed
I think it's she. I think blessed be he is a she with kids.
His light and life within you, he showed you the way.
Yeah.
I think that you can take that in two different ways, though. You can take it spiritually as Jesus was symbolic for how you should live, or you can take it naturally, he just came and died so you would know the way. I don't know, is that maybe what blessed be he is saying?
Yeah, maybe. I'm not sure. And they also said something, his great furnace inside of you can purify you from the inside out. Do not look for him coming in the clouds. His kingdom is within you. I don't think Christianity teaches that it purifies you.
No. And all will see him come down with clouds of great glory. If he's inside you, why would you need to worry about him coming down with great clouds of glory?
Yeah. Well, you believe the literal thing. Now, I had this argument too with the flat earther, that they said that the revelations about God coming down in the clouds, you know, we could see God as if the earth was flat. But how big would Jesus have to be for everybody to see him in the cloud? So to me, that is a supernatural revelation that it doesn't matter if the earth is flat or a globe. God could present him to you right now on television.
Agreed. Think about it. People get visions all the time.
Yeah.
It could be a worldwide vision. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It can go both ways. It's not specifically globe or flat earth related. I think that people are trying to make it more natural. So saying, oh, you can't see on that side of the globe, so it's going to be impossible. Or on a flat earth, then it can just be humongous, which is still possible. But what's more likely? Everybody will just see him spiritually. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's why I always took it that it wasn't supposed to be literal. Everybody sees him in the same cloud. Like you could have a vision. It doesn't even have to be a cloud to me. But Douglas Jenkins, but I don't know if he's talking to me or you. We'll just read it. But your line of argument is an historical heresy that Jesus took on a form or was only a shell of human, but was really spirit. That is called docetism. Let's see. Docetism. Yeah.
Docetism.
The doctrine important to Gnosticism that Christ's body was not human, but either a phantasm or of real but celestial substance, and that therefore his sufferings were only apparent.
Yeah, I don't think any of us said
did that. I didn't. Yeah.
No, we said because I think even you said he came as a physical being, as human.
Yeah.
So I don't
know. But Jesus is eternal too. But you need the New Testament to know that. Well, some people have apologetics of the Old Testament to say that the Old Testament proves the Trinity true. I don't know how they do that, but I've seen people try to make that argument. Do you think the Old Testament shows the Trinity is true, or do you think you need the New Testament?
You need the Trinity does give prophecy into God in the Trinitarian. So, yeah, definitely. I mean, if you look at Isaiah when he's prophesying Jesus getting crucified on the cross and dying for us, the Messiah, that's part of the Trinity because it's part of the Son, the Father, and the Holy Spirit. And then this Holy Spirit had to come down. Or when Jesus got baptized at John the Baptist, the Holy Spirit came down on him after God in heaven came as, this is my Son who I'm well pleased. So they're already speaking about the Trinitarian God in the Old Testament.
All right. I mean, Jews disagree.
It's just the Jews don't read it that way. They're still waiting for the Mashiach. That's the only thing.
Yeah. I've read the Jewish apologetics for why Jesus was not the Messiah. And it's funny. Did you watch that debate between Daniel Hikikachu and the Jewish David Davud?
Nah.
Yeah, he used atheistic arguments against Judaism. I was like, the Muslim did. Why would you do that?
I think the last one I watched with David, whether Kikachu was against IP. Yeah, I think that's the last one I watched with him.
His arguments are, it's like, dude, can you just, I don't know.
Yeah, David's very strongly staunched in his beliefs on what the Quran says.
Yeah.
Yeah, Daniel. So he's got different views compared to a lot of Muslims I do talk to, because he's very straightforward.
I know. We're not going to go into some of the topics.
That's about it. Yeah.
Oh my goodness, dude! It's like I can't believe. Why are you offering apologetics for that? You don't have to. Well, I'm denying God in the Quran. I'm like, most Quranic scholars don't do that. Like,
yeah, it's
sort of interesting. I don't know if I ever want to talk to Daniel. Someday I should. He won't debate me though. It'd be interesting to debate him though. I don't know. I want to do it like the Matt Dillahunty though.
Oh yeah,
I'm supposed to debate Andrew Wilson. Hope so. What were you gonna say?
No, but I said Matt Dillahunty as well. He's actually a very good debater.
Oh yeah, he's a good a skeptic debater, and he understands the philosophy too. So he doesn't like make silly arguments. Like
Yeah.
a lot of people think they're skeptics and don't understand the philosophy behind it, and
Yeah.
so they straw man and they do external critiques instead of internal critiques, and they don't explain the difference. Like this is why I reject it versus this is why you should reject it, right?
Mhm.
I think that
Yeah.
happens a lot in these flat earth debates too. Like my debate with what's it, he always says, he's always telling me why I ought to reject the claim, but he's not doing an internal critique, he's doing an external critique based on things I don't accept. So that's not convincing to me. You should explain why you believe it's true, not why I ought to believe it's true. I think we lose that
Yeah, I
a
can
lot
see
of
that.
times. I try to do that in my opening, but people don't even listen to my opening arguments. So we're already just we should just go to open discussion. But I think we had a good conversation. It's gone on 90 minutes. And I know like it's not really a debate. We could get into all the details and stuff like that, but biblical cosmology is more than just the physical nature of reality. It is about the whole mythos around the thing. And Brenda says flat earthers never debate. I think a lot of people struggle with debating. Brenda's a pretty good at debating, deconstructing claims and stuff like that. So I don't think it's fair to say flat earthers never debate. I think a lot, like last night, the Christian, he could not debate, and T-Jump just owned him. And T-Jump was being T-Jump too. So
that's the nice thing about debates, though. You can have your own opinions.
yeah. Yeah. So with that, you have anything to close out with before I just do show close notes? I'll give the floor to Issa first, and I'll give it to you to do final words before I close out. But anything, you have anything to say, Issa?
Oh, it's freezing.
I think he's frozen. That's okay, Issa. Oh, there you go. I don't know if you're there, Issa.
Yeah, I'm here.
Do you have any final words to say? We're gonna give Flatsoid the final word, and
sounds good.
All right, thanks, bud. I'll let you go. I'll talk to you again later.
Sure. Peace.
All right. And what about you, Flatsoid? Do you have anything to say? Do you think flat earthers and true earthers like me can have good conversation? I should call you. Definitely. I should call you a biblical cosmologist, and like people like Whitsitt or ether cosmologists. I think that would be a more
he classifies himself as the true earther. So
I know. That's why I've been calling myself the true earther, just to mess with people.
Look, when I got into the flat earth stuff, I didn't want to be labeled as a flat earth in the beginning.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, I just decided, what the heck, it pisses Globers off. So yeah, I'm a flat earther, just to piss them off. Now I'm more than happy to say flat earth, but yeah, it's actually biblical cosmologist, because I ascribe to the historical Hebrew cosmology. So it's biblical cosmologist, but yeah, called a flat earther.
Yeah.
That's how it is. And I'm more than happy to debate Brent on your channel, by the way.
Oh yeah, we could set that up. You want to debate the flat earth, you and Brenda? Let's do that. I would love to see that. We have to pick a time. I'll email you and her. She'll send me her email address. I'm actually a naturalist, so I would say I'm an atheistic naturalist. So I think all causal events are natural. So when people ask, like it came up in my last debate with Whitsitt, people asked me what would change your worldview, basically, and I said, well, if somebody could show me a supernatural thing exists, and people like Whitsitt's like, what? I'm a naturalist. I'm not a glober. Like the belief that the Earth is a globe just follows from my axiomatic beliefs about naturalism. So same thing with biblical cosmology. The same thing with, I don't think they have any grounding. I don't know what it is. I asked. They don't know. I like what is it? Like how can
but that's exactly that. Everybody has a different view on things, and because you're a naturalist, you're obviously going to want to see the supernatural naturally.
Yes, I'm going to look at all supernatural explanations. I'm going to I'm going to re-explain it as having a natural cause. It's just my worldview.
But I think when we do have that biblical cosmology debate, this will be something that will come up, obviously, because I will bring up ontological primitives, so it will be part of a debate probably.
Yeah. Well, I will accept some as true, like logic and stuff like that. But I just presuppose them as true. I don't like argue for them because I don't think you can really argue for them. And I know some people try, like who did that? It was the Orthodox Christians try to do that, I think. But it doesn't matter. Then you have the precept apologists. Oh my goodness, like Darth Dawkins and stuff. I learned a lot from Darth Dawkins watching his debate. Brendan wants to know if you would want to debate the flat Earth or religion.
Either doesn't matter to me.
Either, yeah. Either would be good. I like the religion debate sometimes. I get more viewers for the flat Earth debate. So,
look, to me, it's nice to do something different than flat Earth all the time.
Yeah. Well, let's do it on atheism versus theism. Are you for that, or naturalism versus Christianity or something? And 100%. I'd be down for that. Let's do that then. We'll schedule that. Maybe next weekend, next Saturday or something. Or
that's the. I'm not going to be able to do next Saturday though because it's my birthday next weekend. So if we can do it the weekend off, that'll be fine.
You're going to be 25.
38.
38.
I wish 25.
Stephen Jarvis, does Flatsoid know why the USA 2017 went northwest to southeast and the 2024 will travel south? Oh, he's talking about the solar eclipse. So the solar eclipse in 2017 went from the Pacific Northwest to the
and it's going the opposite
way, and the other one's going the opposite way.
And that's why it's making people have a conspiracy. It's the rapture because it's crossing exactly over a country, a town called Rapture.
Yeah. Oh, Rapture.
It's an omen.
No, a lot of them are saying it's Nevea or whatever, and or they're using the book of Jonah, and so they're saying it's crossing all these towns that are related to the. But Jesus, when he was telling this story, he was telling them like. It was a parable to describe his experience, and they're trying to use Jonah. I'm like, are you Jesus? Are you saying you're Jesus? That you can?
Yeah, but that's why I say exactly that the people. I mean, if you just know your Bible, God says you don't know the time of day. So why are you trying to make predictions which is going to be shown false anyway? Yeah. And then you're going to be looked like a fool.
Yeah. We're doing a countdown starting November. I've asked him, would you ever apologize? No, I'm just trying to find people's salvation. Oh my gosh. Like you should at least apologize for being wrong. Oh, anyways, do you have an explanation for why they cross different ways just to honor his
no. I don't. All I know is it just moves that direction. So sorry.
Okay. Thank you. Thanks so much for coming on. We'll schedule this debate with Brenda, and then I'd like to schedule our debate on modern debate maybe or something, but
when you're ready as well for that, it's just not going to be this weekend coming. That's all.
Okay, and I'll let you go now. I'm just going to do my show notes and stuff. I really don't have much to say, but thank you so much for coming on, Flatsoid. I'll talk to you again next time.
Awesome.
Hopefully soon.
Man. Yeah. Blessings, man. Thanks again.
Okay, you too. Bless you.
Cheers.